In the stellar queendom of Rhea, the Sisters of the Host do all they can to protect the hearts and lives of its people. Rhea, spanning most of the known galaxy, is beset by forces within and without who would drag all into oblivion and despair. Aliens of uncertain intent traverse the queendom's borders, all while internal hatred and distrust would tear the people apart, as older, fouler things in the darkness wait to see their plans birth a terrible future. The hosts are the creations of the Dreaming Queen, mystically and genetically endowed super soldiers that give heart and body to protect the Queen and her people. Come and join us for their stories. Greetings, subjects, and welcome back to Rose&Crescent, Blood and Sparkles, powered by Fabula Ultima. I'm Isaac, your Royal Herald, aka your GM, and these are my wonderful players. Say hi, wonderful players.
Hi, wonderful players.
I am also here.
Hello.
Alrighty, and if you want to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm JP. I am 3 otters in a trench coat, and I play Petra.
Are you 5 otters on Fridays?
Nah, not that big of a trench coat.
Fair.
Hi, I'm Ira, and I play Elisa.
Hello, I'm Rin, and I play Chiako of the Silent Luminaries. Previously on Rose&Crescent.
The mutants of Akash decide to leave the Alona's Heart for settlement on Hermitage. In order to lure out a saddened Yarick, an ice cream party was thrown. After a much-needed talk between the boy and Alyssa, ice cream and goodbyes were had. Following intel that the Silent Luminaries had trailed their quarry to the Bari cluster, our heroines followed. Upon arriving, an old distress signal pinged their sensors, and they found a whole planet infected with Nicasia syndrome, the Mind Taker Plague. Triggering traumatic memories of a young Petra who had to slay her sister who had been infected, it was discovered that this growth was from the same outbreak. Still, they managed to disable the signal and escape the fungal coils of the planet, but not before another chance at resurgence was set. And now you're back on the ship, and all 3 of you are immediately put into quarantine. Decontamination occurs, and you are stuck. Each of you are in separate chambers, and now you can see each other. And Danu is there on the outside, looking at the 3 of you, says, "Well, what a thing to come across."
I mean, I thought it was pretty neat.
"How are you doing, Petra?" asked Danu.
Petra just stares forward. She's kind of got that 1,000-yard stare going on.
Says Danu. All right, so we're going to be waiting in orbit while the 3 of you go through the quarantine period. If we're lucky, nothing happened and your systems will just purge anything that might have gotten in there. But unfortunately, Nicasia syndrome is one of the few diseases that's known to be able to affect us. So, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Oh, is this by touch, by blood, through the air?
Danu pulls out her codex, starts looking up some information. Typically, Nicasia syndrome is transferred via fluids, whether that's blood, saliva, moisture droplets, etc. However, we are dealing with a particularly unusual strain of it, so who knows what can happen.
Your initial examinations wouldn't happen to have stumbled upon how this instant of the pathogen mutated in the way it did.
We're looking into that. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I have a hypothesis, but I need to verify before I tell you.
You're the scientist.
If you need anything, just let myself or one of the crew know, and we'll try to make your time in quarantine as pleasant as possible, she says.
As pleasant as possible.
So, while we're all stuck here, anyone want to play a game?
Petra briefly looks over at you, goes back to staring into the mid-distance.
What is going on in Petra's head right now?
She is dealing with an intense onslaught of emotions. Guilt, fear, anger, regret, worry about the future, worry about Chiako. And they're all just kind of jumbled in there, and she has so many options of what she could do and doesn't know which one to choose, that she's just kind of stuck.
So she's just kind of assuming the position of a shrimp and trying to ride it out?
That would indicate that she has some kind of plan for what to do with this, and she doesn't.
So, starting with Chiako, what does she do during the 3 days of confinement?
Well, aside from trying to chat up the others and distract people from the current seriousness and whatnot, she's also been very, very, observant of herself. Because she does have medical history, she's also making sure to, keep track of her vitals, her temperature, any potential changes, keeping an assessment of her mental state, as broken as it is, but she's focused on doing those things so that she can give more accurate reports to Danu, but also in case her perception of it is different from the charts that Danu's getting, that might also be other data to take note of.
That is fair. Roll me insight and insight. And yes, you can make it open.
Wahaha. That's a 12.
Alright, a 12's good. Between your medical training and just your physical host sister training, you are very versed in your body. You can easily keep track of this in your head, and overall it seems like everything seems to be operating within parameters. Both your lungs and secondary lungs are functioning within capacity. Your hearts are appropriately in sync with each other. You do feel a bit tired, but you're not sure if that is illness or boredom.
It's probably boredom.
What about you, Alyssa? What are you doing during the 3 days?
Alyssa has many, many things to keep her distracted for the long trips through space. A major source of distraction for her is she has very long-winded, some might even say meandering, book series of various topics right now.
Is she reading fiction or nonfiction at the moment?
She likes reading a lot of fiction because she does like knowing something, but right now, given that her objective is to just waste time, she's reading a long wooden ship epic.
Interestingly enough, maybe because Chiako was on your mind at the time, or maybe you're just trying to understand the cultural context that she comes from initially, you have a wooden ship epic from Chiako's homeworld of Taitsuchi. In this case, it's the tale of a government minister who gets captured by pirates.
That's usually what they are. Long drawn-out kidnap fantasies where there's a slow burn romance where they don't even hold hands until the 12th book.
There are plenty of sparkles and flowers.
Perhaps.
And I assume Petra just stays in her semi-catatonic state for the 3 days?
No. That breaks after she gets a little bit of sleep, and she asks to get her weight training equipment. Not a big machine or, press, but she wants to have her dumbbells and stuff like that. And she then proceeds to go through an incredibly punishing set of physical exercises for, pretty much 3 days straight with very little sleep.
All right. The more compact part of your equipment can be put into your chamber without risk of anything. One exercises the mind, the other one exercises the body, the one maybe, bounces between the two. And at the end of the 3 days, Danu comes in, says, all right, things seem to be in order. As for your original question, Alyssa, we suspect that the Subject Zero who landed here, they died, and the fungus that started decomposing their bodies absorbed the pathogen. So mushrooms, fungus, that category of life is closer to animalia than they are flora. And as such, some kind of mutation or quirk happened, either in the fungus or this particular outbreak of the syndrome, and it allowed it to jump barriers. And with that in mind, on most planets with large plant biospheres, fungi and mushrooms and so forth form a mycelial network that kind of just goes throughout the planet and connects to various plants. And somewhere in the process, it just kind of managed to mutate and move past its normal bounds.
Which means simply destroying its entire surface is likely not to be sufficient to deal with this problem.
Oh no, we'd have to send something in to destroy it below the ground. Actually, this sort of situation is the kind of situation that the Silent Luminaries would be called into, unfortunately.
Chiako's just cheerfully swinging her legs as she's sitting, grinning ear to ear. Yeah, we'd roast that planet.
And yet, they didn't.
Well, maybe it's on the list. They are fighting a Leviathan right now. A moving threat's much more threatening than a stationary one.
But at that point, Danu says, still, things seem to be okay, so I think it's safe to let you out. She goes over to Petra's door, presses the button, it opens, the smell comes wafting out, then she goes over to Alyssa's door, everything's fine, and just as she's getting to Chiako's door, Chiako, you feel a coughing fit coming up.
He's getting ready to approach the door, and then as it begins to claw at her throat, he's going to jump back.
And as you cough, blood comes up. At which point Danu recoils back from the button that would have opened your chamber.
Yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
And as he says that, the spin starts rooming, and suddenly you feel very cold. But what really stands out to you is the fact that your hearts are no longer beating in sync.
This doesn't feel right.
As you say that, you collapse to the ground unconscious.
I'm far from a medical expert, but that does not look fine.
No, it does not, she says. And Danu starts calling in aid.
What color is Chiako's blood?
It's red, but a cooler shade of red at the moment. And moving with all quickness, yet still probably too slow for you, a hazmat team manages to get Chiako into another room so they can start investigating, taking samples, and just trying to figure out what's going on. Chiako is now in containment and intensive care. Individuals are rushing about. Danu is spearheading. What is Petra doing through all this?
She is as close to Chiako as anybody is going to let her. And given Petra's size and grumpiness, that's probably pretty close.
You're in the waiting area next to the chamber. You have a transparent wall that you can see into the room where the people in suits and masks are attempting to care for her. And what is Alyssa doing?
Alyssa is just silently watching at a distance.
Okay, so Chiako, despite having fallen into a coma, she still coughs, she still shakes from chills, and as you look, people attending her shriek a little bit as growths start coming out from her mouth, her nose, and her eyes. It is not a pleasant sight. Chiako, you wake up on a planet that is covered in rotted foliage. And as you do, you see squads and cohorts of your sisters marching forward in silence, heading to what appears to be a lush area of healthy-looking plants. What do you do?
Am I armed?
You are. You have a rail rifle as well as a short sword on your hip.
Are my sisters armed?
They are.
And as they march forward, are they in attack mode or not?
Oh, they are definitely in attack mode. There's no chatter. It's just quiet marching as they head towards some battle.
Then, with glee, I run to join their ranks. Her face falls just like theirs.
As you go to run forward, coming up from behind you, a presence fills the area, and you hear a voice that you have never heard, yet in your very bones you recognize. And she says, "Don't run too far ahead."
Is this voice compelling me?
It's not controlling your mind, but it is... Her voice carries weight.
Chiaka slows, turns to look. Is there anyone there?
You are just slightly ahead of a small group, but leading this group, and apparently leading the whole effort, is a giant of a woman. Danu is tall. This woman is half again taller than you. She has an aura of silence, deadliness, and grace, and looking on her, you know the face of your mother. This is the Anax of the Silent Luminaries, Hikaru Michi, glaive in hand.
What would you have me do, Mother?
The Banyanids are this way. We will wipe them out, she says.
Oh, yes, we will. We absolutely will.
Cutting back to Petra and Alyssa, Danu comes up to you and she goes, "Okay, we're doing everything we can. We have antifungals, we have the appropriate steroids going in. Unfortunately, in many respects, we're kind of in the dark here. This is an entirely unaccounted for scenario."
I imagine you're unfamiliar with fighting this variant.
Nicasia syndrome is a bit outside of my normal purview. Couple that with its fungal mutation. However, during the 3 days, I looked into Siobhan's case, as well as the few other instances of a host sister being infected. Chiako's mind either is or will be under attack. And so, I am going to suggest that you link to her mind, and hopefully your presence can be a shoring influence as she fights this.
We are confident that this infection cannot move through the mind link.
The mind link is entirely technological. The infection is entirely organic. As such, there's no reason to believe that it could infect you. You will feel things, yes, but you will not become infected with Nicasia syndrome in the process.
I merely ask because it jumping to a fungi was considered impossible.
I make the offer. It is up to you.
I'll do it. I have something I gotta do first.
2 things you're going to have to do first. Because after that thing, you're going to have a conversation with me before we start mind linking.
Won't that be delightful? It should
Would
just
it ever be?
talks off.
All right.
Regardless, what prep work needs to be done for this mind link?
Nothing too much. We'll give you a mild sedative to relax your mind. Then we'll link up your coordinates to hers more directly. Hopefully the link will coalesce.
Why is she going through this and not us? And how did you not notice it?
All signs from the vitals that we could scan seemed to indicate that she had managed to fight off the infection herself. What happened right before we opened up was rapid.
As in, none of this fungus was there until suddenly, in seconds, it was?
More like it was extremely dormant. And frankly, if she had been fighting it off, there would have been residual amounts of the spores and fungus being processed through her normal waste channels. We thought it was dead.
And why did it suddenly become active?
Maybe it was taking time to acclimate to a host sister environment.
I would prefer it if you looked into it and find a better answer, because we almost let her out of that chamber.
Between helping Chiako fight this, I'll do what I can.
Saving a crew member is important, but equally important is not allowing this problem to spread to other crew.
At the moment, she is contained, and she was the only one to bear even any traces of the fungus. Everyone who's been working on it has been getting tests after every session.
Makes her different. Why are we not infected like this?
Well, to be fair, you didn't take a deep breath in.
True. But is that all it takes for this? One deep breath?
That entire atmosphere was riddled with spores. Any suitably developed ecological system has any number of spores, pollens, and other organic detritus going through the air. Normally a person's lungs and breathing apparatuses filter that stuff out, or if it does get in, the immune system is typically strong enough to deal with most of it. When it's not, that's how you get hay fever. But sometimes it slips past defenses. So if you're in a planet whose atmosphere is riddled with that stuff, one deep breath might be all it takes. It's a terrible situation, and something that small triggering all this is devastating to think about. Unfortunately, it's what's happened.
So it means literally anything that entered that atmosphere is potentially dangerous.
Oh yes. And we have put out Konbui saying this planet is under quarantine.
Have you made sure the shuttle did not pick up any spores?
That was also put through sterilization when you arrived.
Good.
Although we have been double checking.
Triple check.
Yes, ma'am. Alright, so what is Petra doing?
Petra would like to have a short, brief consult with the GM.
So Petra goes and makes her preparations. Shortly thereafter, both of you arrive, and Daniel has set up some beds with some wires that will connect directly into your coronets.
So, have you finished what you needed to finish, Petra?
Yep.
Good. Then we're having that conversation now.
Delightful.
When did you suspect?
I think when we saw the dinosaur with the big mushrooms growing out of its eyes.
And why didn't you share that observation with us then?
Would you have believed me? Or would you have just dismissed this as, oh no, Petra's being overly aggressive, we need to ignore her again?
Petra, I think you're a recluse, and I think you have a tendency to place your emotions well above protocols of the mission. I am also of the opinion that you are an individual who is very interested and very much a person who wants to do things right. So if you observe something that you think is a problem and you express it, I have no reason to believe that this is anything but a sincere concern.
You know, I'm sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have said that. I'm
going to be very blunt, Petra. It is very clear to me that whatever has given you insight into this situation is genuinely a source of trauma for you. And normally, I would be a far more gentle about this and encourage you to perhaps seek help through counseling of some sort. But the problem here is because you allowed yourself to wallow in your trauma, we are now in a situation where one of us is endangered, and if we were not some amount of lucky, we would all be far more endangered than just one of us.
Two of you might be in danger really soon if you don't get off my back.
I'm simply saying, if you don't, I'm not even telling you to come to me with your problems. In fact, you probably shouldn't. I am not a warm and caring person. But if you don't learn to share your burdens with others, then all you are going to do is lock them in place and not work through them. All I am asking you is, when this crisis is over, seek someone to counsel.
You're saying I didn't already?
Petra, did you put your counsel in someone and they betrayed you?
That's a hard question to answer. The short answer is probably.
Now, I'm sorry that you placed your trust in someone and they abused it.
That's surprising. surprising to hear. Look, we don't have to like each other to work well together. And I do think we work well together. But the issues that I've had in the past are just going to be there. And if that doesn't work for you, then we may have to reevaluate the working relationship. I don't even know what I'm saying. Let's just get this done, huh?
Because we are on a tight deadline, I will simply put this in language that I suspect you will appreciate more. And then we will indeed get on with it. And that is, you have a responsibility, Petra, to get your together. If not for yourself, then at least for the people who you need to help in the future.
Fair enough. I've taken steps towards mitigating that problem.
I will not tell you what you need to do because I do not know what you need to do. Only that it clearly needs to be done. And I'm sorry that others you sought for assisting in this failed you so severely that they made the situation worse. But we're going to be here a while, Petra. So you need to learn how to move on from things or else they will stay forever.
Just like that, huh?
Just like that.
At that point, Danu says, okay, this is entertaining, I guess, but we have a deadline, as you say. She holds up the 2 connecting wires. Please, lay down. Take deep, slow, calming breaths, or I will make you.
You're welcome to try.
Writhing in the other room.
Actually, she is, yes.
You're welcome to try, Elisa says as she lays down on the bed.
Connecting your coordinates. Now, as you may or may not recall, the connection with the coordinates are such that even an unconscious sister can communicate with others. We will essentially be deepening that connection. She connects you and then injects you with some sedatives that, for you are mild, and the both of you fall into a hazy, half-conscious state. Cutting back over to Chiako, you followed your mother towards that particular patch of healthy-looking foliage. When you got there, these massive creatures crawled out of it. They're like what would happen if you built spiders out of swamp plant life. Although instead of pincers at their mouths, they have a proboscis, and they have large, almost Venus flytrap-like jaws on their abdomens. They crawl out of the ground, and your sisters engage them. Now, in normal battles with regular humans or the other hosts, you'd hear various sounds and shouts and other vocalizations. But these are the silent luminaries. When they fight quietly, and it's just your sisters going through the motions, cutting them down, being cut down themselves as they attempt to wipe out this threat. As your mother called them, they're the Banyanids. Roll me another insight check, please.
15.
You remember from the history lessons during your training. The Banyanids are a parasitic plant species that will arrive on a world, set down roots, grow more of themselves, draining the planet of life and vitality before going back into space to repeat the cycle. As far as you know, they were wiped out millennia ago by your Annex mother with the help of her daughters, and you seem to be there.
Chiako observes as her sisters do what they do best. In this whole battle, the Banyanids being in the presence of her mother, it's all surreal. But her mother did say not to stray too far ahead, so she is staying by her side instead.
If it weren't the fact that you were in the middle of a fight, you'd probably want to fall to your knees. Such is her aura, such is her presence. You fight by her side along with the other group of sisters around her. As you do so, the fight seems to be going in your favor, but is far from decided. Hikaru Michi, wielding her glaive Quietus, has sliced through 5 with a stroke. And then a large growth, bigger than the others, blindsides her and knocks the glaive from her hands. And so she begins to struggle with it, barehanded for want of a better term. She's armored like the rest of you. And as she holds it, she manages to keep it in place, at which point she shouts at you, "Grab Quietus!"
Chiaka's going to go for his glaive and try to bring it to her.
As you pick it up, it is like holding a wild snake. It doesn't move, but the way it feels, and as you try to move it, you can feel the power in it, and it does not want you to wield it. However, Hikaru Michi manages to break off one of its thorns and stab it in what you assume is an eye. And as she's doing so, continuing to hold it there, she is shouting instructions on how to use the glaive. You notice that there are runes and switches on the hilt of it, and time seems to slow down oddly as she gives you these instructions. But you quickly grasp them, and she's holding it there, and she manages to twist the beast around, exposing a large bulb between its 2 primary body parts. What do you do?
Chiaka is going to follow directions exactly. Mess with the runes, turn the switches, grasp the hilt. And then she's going to, if Vitus allows her, swing for the ball.
Once you press the runes and grip the hilt correctly, Quietus struggles less, and you drive the glaive into the bulb and twist. And as you do so, the creature shrieks and then grows silent. The other Banyanids seem to respond to this. And then everything starts going quiet. Not just the normal quiet you felt before. The sounds of movement deaden, the sounds of the creatures lessen. And instead, you start hearing a multitude of voices. Some men, some women, some something else. Some human, some not human, just a multitude of them. And as they begin to whisper, the world around you falls away. Cutting back to Petra and Alyssa, you are wandering through a purplish, hazy void. How are you going to try to find Chiako in this?
Petra is going to start listening for giggles of sadistic glee.
That is fair, yes.
Is this like Inception rules where the deepest mind space is of all minds are deeply connected, or are we like in a hard network?
Well, it may column B. Your minds are linked, and thus the shape and rules of it are being formed from primarily Chiako's mind, or at the very least, Chiako's mind and whatever she's dealing with. As Danu said, you're taking that connection that the coordinates normally provide and kind of going deeper with it. But the purplish haze does definitely suggest that you're more on the Chiako side of things.
Well, of the two of us, you are the most headstrong. Suggest you lead the way, Petra.
Okay. Like I said, I think she's going to start listening for sounds of sadistic glee. That seems to be kind of her default personality. And in lieu of any really much more solid ideas, that's what she's going to start with.
All right. Roll me insight and willpower.
And 9.
You will find her, but a 9 is not quite enough to be a success.
I am going to use a fabula point. That makes it a 12.
A 12 is enough. You listen for Chiako's default self. Now, Chiako, the giggling sadistic stalker / surgeon, is that Chiako both internally and externally?
Are you asking if she has a separate personality but also in her head?
Maybe, if not a separate personality, maybe just a face she puts forward, but also Chiako has demonstrated 2 faces externally before. Which one would be her default mode internally, I guess you could say?
Internally. Let's see. think she swaps between the two internally about as equally as she does outwardly.
In that case, Petra, you hear some of that same giggling, and you follow after it. Although as you follow after it, you start hearing the same whispering voices that I described earlier.
Are we armed?
You take what you carry in your mind. So, knowing Petra, I imagine she carries both a gun in her hands and in her mind.
Yeah, Clarabelle is very rarely far from her thoughts. Yeah, she's going to raise it, light it up, and get ready to engage something.
All right. And I assume Alyssa follows after?
Alyssa shall follow.
So Chiako. So the battle with the Bonianids fades away, and you also find yourself in that purplish, hazy void. However, as you walk along, those whisperings that you heard earlier become very distinct voices, all speaking the same thing. Survive, propagate, it will not happen again. Different voices saying one of these three things at different times, all at once. As you look around listening, you see what could best be described as the shadows of scarabs, a whole swarm of them. And from there, the voices seem to emanate, and they are chasing after you. Do you flee?
Chiako's gonna fight. Let's kill them all.
All right, so you turn to face the swarm then. I assume you have your daggers with you, or do you have a different weapon in mind?
Do I have the weapons that I had in the fight with the Annex Mother? The gun and the sword? Or am I back to my normal self?
Probably back to your normal self.
And then I have all 4 of my daggers.
All right. You turn to face it. You start swiping at the swarm of these shadowy beetles, hearing the voices. You manage to knock some off of you, stab others, but they keep coming, and as they do, they bite pieces off of you. And with each bite, you feel a shock in your mind. And as it looked like you might be overcome by them, 2 things appear. 1, a gigantic image of Hikaru Michi, your mother, steps out of the haze, wielding quietus, and strikes at the swarm. The swarm, in turn, coalesces into a large, vaguely humanoid shape, and they start battling each other. And that is when Petra and Alyssa arrive. They've managed to trek the halls of your mind, and they arrive at the battlefield of the conflict within you. Petra and Alyssa, you see this swarm condensed into a giant monster fighting. Now, I assume in your lessons, in your various trainings, while you did not focus on the Annex Mothers of other hosts, you are at least somewhat familiar. And as such, you see this depiction of Hikaru Michi. Alyssa, when you were going through your joining, you saw no vision of your mother. Petra, when you went through your joining, you saw one of the nightmares of Ilona Alistriana. This feels like that, just not your mother.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, Petra starts shooting.
All right, time for a clock. Actually, time for 2 clocks. You 3 need to fill up your clock before the swarm's clock fills up. And it will fill up after each of you do your turn. Petra, you said you were going into attack? Now, you're in a mind space, so you're going and you're using a mental reconstruction of Clarabella. So typically, Clarabella is a might and dexterity weapon?
Yes.
All right, in that case, when you roll, one of your dice needs to be willpower, but I'll let you choose which of your might and dexterity you use for the other die in your roll.
They're all D8s.
And then it should be easy then.
A 12.
All right, a 12 is a success, and you manage to add 1 to your clock. So you start shooting it. Are you going for the head of this creature? Head, quote unquote? Or are you trying to take its legs out from under it?
It depends on what Hikaru Michi is doing. I will try to... I'm not going for the kill. That's her right and her glory. My job is just to keep it wounded, keep it busy, keep it off balance, but she can do her thing.
All right. If it gets too close, she strikes out with her armored fists. If she can keep it at a good distance, she goes at it with quietus.
Okay, then yeah, she's gonna just shoot for concussive effect.
All right. So, Alyssa or Chiako? Which one of you wants to go next?
Can I do a quick assessment before attacking? Or will that count as my attack?
Study is an action, so that will be your action this turn.
I am going to spend 20 mind. Or actually, I can only do skill level, so 10 mind points. I want to ask about 2 damage types. How does that creature react to those 2 types?
It is resistant to physical and poison.
Okay. I'm going to let my sisters know that physical and poison damages will not be particularly effective on this creature. And I would like to swap out my main dagger for one of my others.
All right.
For the time being.
Swiping can happen, no issue. It falls to you, Alyssa. You have this information. You have Petra bearing into it with a mental construct of Clarabella. What are you going to do here?
Alyssa's going to look for Chiako.
Chiako is not too far away. You heard her shout this information after all.
So we'll cry out for Chiako. Chiako!
Hi, Lisa.
Not to put any pressure on you, but a hostile foreign parasite is trying to take over your brain.
Is that what these bugs are?
Yeah, this is your brain. This is your, I guess, dreamscape, interpreting your immune system fighting off parasite attempting to seize control of your neurological organs.
I'll break that battle down later, but this is cool. Let's kill it.
As you say that internally, externally, her body is going through a bad time. Her organs are moving in such a way that they shouldn't be able to. She's swelling and shrieking like nobody's business. Cutting back to the internal battle, Alyssa, was that a whole conversation of your plans for the round, or is there something else you wanted to do?
To continue. My point is, all of this is metaphorical.
So kill the swarm, kill the infection, right?
The important part is your limit is your imagination.
Ah. I have a very vivid imagination.
I suspect so.
Everybody gets a fabula point.
Yay. So I imagine that we all get extra turns.
Doesn't go that far, but good try.
I'm pretty sure it's still limited within the confinements of the meta mechanics.
Universe says no.
That being said, for example, you'll notice Petra kind of just shooting them with her gun when, you think about it hard enough, you could do this, and Elisa's going to call down a sat strike.
All right. I'll say that's an insight and willpower roll.
Okie dokie.
I just want to say I wish we had the money for like a comic rendition of this, because I think that'd be great. Just seeing that whole little back and forth you guys just had in comic form would be great.
One day.
So unfortunately, an 8 is not quite enough.
It is not enough. Let me check my traits. I don't feel like my tricks would directly enough interact with this to reroll, but can I invoke Daughter of Harmony?
I'll allow it.
Thank you. That one's even worse at a 4.
That is also not enough.
Faye has spoken.
You attempt to call down a sat strike on this thing. Unfortunately, as you mentally construct the beam and it goes down, the swarm just kind of does that thing that swarms do where bends around the attack and manages to avoid any damage.
That was really cool. I don't think it did anything though, but that was really pretty.
They scattered like ants. Regardless, my point stands.
And Chiako, I guess it's time for you to unleash something from the bowels of your mind. Go forth.
I want to create my own swarm of glittering bugs to infest the enemy swarm.
I like it. Okay. Roll me a willpower and willpower roll.
Oh no.
Your fear gives me joy.
Why?
Because as the GM, I am one part sadist.
So that's a 6. I would like to use my lucky 7 to replace the 1 and make it a 12.
That is allowed, yes. From the hazy void around you, sparkling purple-like beetles just kind of coalesce, start crawling in and around the shadowy swarm that Hikaru Michi is battling. And as it pecks at it, the voices are disrupted and in pain, and it manages to stall the enemy swarm long enough for Hikaru Michi to take a slice out of it with her glaive. And another slice is added onto your clock. And it's the end of the turn, and unfortunately, it manages to repel some of your sparkly bugs and gain some traction, and thus a slice on its clock is filled up. And it falls back to your turn. Who is going first?
Petra, if you guys don't mind.
By all means.
I ain't stopping you.
So Petra looks over at Elisa. Anything we can think of?
Anything you can conceive.
So she says, all right. And so she starts trying to blast away the ground underneath this thing in such a way that it can't dodge away. It's like cracking it open and exposing it to like an endless void, kind of like when you fall through the scenery of a video game.
All right, you want to clip it. In that case, roll me dexterity and willpower.
Okie dokie. Any modifier for a really cool idea?
I'll give you a +1 for description, yes.
Yay.
That's an 11. That is enough to fill up another slice on your clock. On the outside, as Chiako's now misshapen form thrashes and screams, Danu is in there, holding her down, injecting her with any number of cocktails that, if put into a normal human, would probably liquefy their brains, but into a host sister should knock them out, but is not. But at the very least, it's keeping Chiako from biting off her own tongue. Back to the internal battle. Chiako or Alyssa? Who's next?
Go ahead.
This will head out to the rear lines of this mental battlefield. She's going to find some artillery setups and direct them to fire on the enemy.
Willpower and dexterity, please.
Dexterity for artillery, huh?
I was thinking guns. Normally in most games, guns usually use dexterity. Although artillery, okay, that is technically more of a technical form of weapon.
Yeah, you don't really hold artillery.
All right. So, all right, in that
I guess
case,
these gals can.
In that case, roll me a willpower and insight check. And if you want to have a +1 for imagination, you may take it.
That is at 9.
9 is not enough. You want to try again.
I will invoke Angry Perfectionist to re-roll the 1. Alright, that is a 13.
That is a success. And the artillery you managed to conjure fires volley after volley into the swarm, managing to disperse and disrupt it quite a bit. And with its dispersal, Hikaru Michi does a swipe with Quietus, and just like a purplish black wave of energy strikes it. And another slice on the clock is filled up. All right, Chiako, it falls to you.
Chiako, as much fun as she would like to have with this, decides to go a bit more familiar, much more her preferred style this time. But she's gonna have the length of her daggers extend, almost like she's dual wielding swords instead.
Are you going to swipe, or do the blades just kind of like extend and extend until they pierce the swarm?
She's going to lunge forward and swipe.
In that case, dexterity and willpower.
Now, mind you, one of her blades is dark and the other one is light, if that alters anything.
Good description, I like it. Also take a +1.
Oh, cool. Add +1 to the 15 then. So that'll be a 16.
Okay. Another slice, you're almost there. You've managed to damage and distract it. The voices are in disarray, just shouting, survive, propagate, it will not happen again. survive, propagate. It will not happen again.
Chiako is dancing around this thing as she swings her dual blades.
And for a moment, you swear that Hikaru Michi looks at you and nods.
Mother approves.
But the swarm digs in, and it gains another slice on its clock. However, it's your turn again, and assuming you don't get some terrible critical failure, you can manage to finish off this infection. Are you leaving that to Chiako to do?
I feel like it's her brain.
I mean, it's her brain, it seems fair.
Yes, I will go first this time. I'm going to continue with my ballerina onslaught.
Alright, roll it.
Another 15.
Very nice. You fill up the last slice of the clock, and you essentially shadow of the Colossus, this thing. You know, you're dancing around it with your blades cutting and swiping. You get onto it, your feet sink a little bit, but you remember that this is your mind, your body. Whatever this is, it will not take you. And your footing solidifies, and you run up, dragging your swords, and you split its attention such that as you cut through it, Hikaru Michi shoves the blade of her glaive into its center. You shove your blades into the outline of a head, and light erupts from both blades, enveloping the haze. And next thing you know, Petra and Alyssa, you wake up on your beds, massive headache, and Chiako, you wake up to Danu holding you down as you see your body swollen kind of start to deflate and revert back to its normal shape. And it is a very weird and disjointed experience. Imagine if your muscles and your skin weren't connected and they were like sliding along each other.
I can actually imagine that rather vividly.
And much like Petra and Alyssa, you also have a terrible headache and your body is sore in a way you have not felt since you were becoming a host sister. Danu is just like, do you know who you are?
Chiako, I was Luminous. I am the scalpel of the queen. I will eradicate my enemies. And I'm gonna cover your office in glitter once you get off of me.
Danu was a bit unsure at first, but once you mentioned the glitter, she's just like, all right. You're going back into quarantine, and we'll see what happens.
Why?
We are going to make doubly dang sure that your system is entirely purged, all right?
Can I have hot cocoa?
Yes.
With the little marshmallows?
We still have some left over from Yarick, yes.
And a peppermint stick?
No.
Why?
Because we don't have any.
Lisa!
I think she's better, Elisa.
Will you order peppermint sticks?
There are no peppermint sticks in the supplies. I don't know how we would have them sent to us in the middle of space.
So you'll do it, right?
Check back in a day.
Yay!
All right, everybody take another fabula point for all that. Another 3 days pass. Chiako is kept under constant surveillance. Constant vigilance is done in monitoring her vitals. At the end of the 3 days, Danu says, okay, we've triple checked it. There is no more trace of the infection. As far as we can tell, you're clean. And it's also by this point that though you are still sore, your body is back to its normal proportions. Also, you're now out of hot cocoa because you drank all that remained.
No.
And then after you're let out, you try to run around the ship to burn off your energy, but you are sore and you have to move slow. Slow for you.
That's okay, I'll crawl through the vents instead.
After that, Danu comes to you, Petra, and she says, I don't know how much you want to go into it. I'm not exactly a therapist, but I am generally the one people like to talk to. So, how are you doing?
I will be better in a couple days. Just, let's wait here.
Fair enough. She slaps you on the back, you step forward a little bit, and I assume Alyssa goes to fill out the report on this whole debacle?
Mm-hmm.
Does filling out the report make her feel a bit better about everything?
Nope.
Chiako, due to Petra's insistence, the ship waits at your current location. During that time, the soreness does eventually fade. However, you are left with something interesting, but for you, probably a little disturbing. You've hinted at, if not outright said, that Chiako's memory is fuzzy. It's fluid. A lot of long-term memories don't tend to stick.
That is correct.
However, this whole incident, especially the way your body was shifting and changing and the way the voices echoed in your head, you find that you cannot even start to try to force yourself to forget that.
I don't like that.
On the other hand, you also have the memory with Hikaru Michi in the fight against the Banyanids, as well as her coming to your defense against this infection that you will never be able to forget either.
A preferred memory, but still concerning. Chiako is going to write these memories down in as much detail as she can, just in case.
After about 2 weeks that Petra has insisted that you stay here, Arito says, all right, we have a ship incoming. We have multiple ships incoming, actually. Coming out of the dreaming, you see the Beosenshin, as well as all of its support vessels. And Min Kyung hails you. Alona's Heart?
This is the Alona's Heart.
Hi.
Hello, Chiako. Petra, the Starwar Grove would not get here in a time that they felt was appropriate for the situation, and since we were closer and have the appropriate firepower, they asked us to fulfill your recommendation in their stead. Does this satisfy you?
Quite.
Chiako, I am glad you're okay.
Me too. But come on, I'm not gonna get taken out by a mushroom. Please.
Very well, then we will commence. She cuts off the connection from there, and you see the Beosenshin and her support vessels fall into geosynchronous orbit around the planet that this infection is on. As they do, massive lasers just lay into the planet, cutting a ring around it as it goes around, burning and cutting through the planet and its layers. But even that would not be enough. And you realize that was just the preparation. Once it finishes its circle, it focuses on a spot, boring deeper and deeper. And then the laser stops, and you have this ringed world with a massive hole through its layers. And then you hear Min Kyung say, to protect the queendom and its people, whatever this planet could have been, we now consign to dust and ash. And then a small object is fired into the hole that's been bored through the planet. And a few minutes later, the entire planet, in the silence of space, explodes, sending pieces out into the void. And the planet, where the Nikasia syndrome had become one with it, is no more.
Chiako was recording this whole thing.
God, that's amazing.
And on that happy note is where we will end it today, my dear subjects. So, that was a lot. Chiako, welcome to the consequences of your actions.
I was told that the air was breathable, okay? Okay.
So, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed that whole emotional, somewhat surreal back and forth. And we hope you join us next time. Please do the YouTube things of liking and subscribing. And we will see you for the next part of the adventure as our dear host sisters search for the silent luminaries. So until next time, fare thee well.
See you later.
Bye.
After this, we're going to get tacos.